insert a line graph and a bar graph into a Google slide using your iPad. So I have my Google Slides open. If you don't know what it looks like, Google Slides is this one right here, okay? And I'm going to click it open, and you can see my Google Slides is now open. Down in the lower right-hand corner, there's a plus sign. You're going to click the plus sign if it's a new presentation, and you are going to title your presentation Bar and Line Graph, and then click Create, and it will open up a brand new slides. Okay, I'm going to delete the double tap to add title, so I just click on it and then click delete, click on it and click delete. So I'm starting with just a blank slide. Now you have to insert your table. You will need a table to show me what information that you use to create your graph. I have 4 cars in this case, so I'm going to have 4 columns, and I have numbers. So I have the cars and the numbers. That's only 2 rows. So I'm going to click Insert Table, and then you double click in the first box and type what color car you have. And then you just keep clicking in the boxes and you type the color cars that you saw. Okay? And then your numbers are going to go in the bottom. These will help you figure out what your intervals. So white cars, I had 2. Black cars, I had 7. Silver cars, I had 4. And red cars, I had 3. Okay? So now my table is done. I'm just going to move it up to the top. Okay? On your iPad, you cannot create a graph like you can on your computer. So we are just going to take a picture of a graph that I drew in my math notebook. So in order to do that, you hit the plus sign up in the top. Okay? And it opens up this again, and you're going to click on Image from Camera. Once you do that, you can go ahead and take a picture of the graph you drew. Remember to make it neat. Use a ruler to make your x-axis and your y-axis, okay? And you notice I have the title, and in this case, the bar graph. The title is going to be kind of the main idea of your bar graph. What's your bar graph about? In this case, it's the color of cars in my neighborhood. So I walked around my neighborhood, wrote down the color of cars, and then put the number of cars I saw in my neighborhood with that color. Your x-axis is going to be the color of the cars. So you're going to label your x-axis where it says color of cars. And you can see I put the white, the black, the silver, and the red because those were the color cars in my neighborhood. The intervals are going to go up the y-axis, okay? And because there were less than 10 cars, I'm just going to do it in increments of 1. If there were 20 cars, I might do it in increments of 2. As you increase the numbers, your intervals will get different. So if there was 50 cars, I might do it by 5s or by 10s. 100 cars, I'd probably go by 10s, okay? Those are your intervals. The label for your intervals is going to be the number of cars because that was what we were counting, okay? I'm just going to use this photo, and it's going to put my bar graph right in there. So you can see you also need to add your bars. So I had 2 white cars. So on the intervals, I find the number 2. I go across that line, and I create a bar for how many white cars I had, 2. And then for the black cars, I have 7 black cars, and remember your data must match your table up top. So I have 7 black cars, so I go up the intervals and find 7, and then I find the black, and I create a bar for 7 black cars. So as you can see, I made this neat in my notebook. So now I have my bar graph made. You are required to have a title. You are required to have 2 labels. You're required to have the intervals, and you're required to have the bars because it's a bar graph, okay? And now I'm going to change it over to a line graph. So in order to do that, I'm going to add another slide. Down in the bottom left corner, there is a slide with a plus sign. You click on that, and it will pull up what kind of slide you want to add. I'm going to add a blank slide so it's clear. And then again, I'm going to add my table. So click the plus sign, click on the table. In this case, I have 3 months, so we are going to have 3 columns, and then I have my numbers, so there's 2 rows. Okay, up top, the months that I use were March, April, and then May. Okay, and a line graph, remember, is the change over time. So my time is March, April, and May in this case. My time is in months. And then the numbers that I'm going to use are the inches of rain in that month. So in March we had 3.4 inches of rain. In April we had 2.9 inches of rain. And in May we had 3.3 inches of rain. Okay, and I'm going to take that and put it right up at the top, just like I did on the last one. Now in this case we are doing a line graph, so the picture that I'm going to take, also in my math notebook, click image, and you from camera, and this is a line graph that is in my math notebook. So I'm just going to take a picture of my line graph. You can see I put a title, so the overall gist of this graph is the rainfall in North Carolina over a 3-month period. So my title tells me what the graph is about. I add the label on the y-axis, and that's how many inches of rain we had in these months. The intervals in this case, and they always start at 0 where the x and the y-axis meet. But the intervals, because it didn't go over 4, I'm just going to put them in intervals of 1. But you can see that I skipped lines because we have numbers like 3.4, 2.9. So in between each one of those is going to be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. So I made it so that I skipped lines in this case so that I can put the correct data on. The label on the bottom is going to be the months in 2020 that I collected this data. So we have March, April, and May on the bottom. And then the 5th one is the data dots, or the data points. Okay, so in March it said that we had 3.4 inches of rain. Well, it's not at the 3 and it's not at the 4, it's 3.4. So not quite halfway up, I'm going to put 3.4, and I'm going to put my data point. In April, we had 2.9. Not quite at 3, but it's close. So I'm going to put it just below the 3. And then in May, we had 3.3. That's a little over 3 inches, so I'm going to put my dot a little over 3 inches. And then once I've created my data points, I can then put the line to connect them to show the growth over time. Click the Use Photo, and then my graph will go in as the picture. Okay? Once I have that, I can save this. And you can see the check mark up next to the title, bar and line graph. So up in the upper left-hand corner, it's highlighted now. It says bar and line graph. And I click the check mark there. And then I can click back. And you can see that right here is what I just created. Okay, so once you have that done, you can turn it in on Google Classroom under the assignment.